Imam Nawawi radiallahu anhu mentions a hadith in Sahih Muslim. It's a sound hadith in which a man asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where are your parents? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Inna abi wa abaka fin nar. My father and your father is in hell. That's what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. It's a sahih hadith. The sanad is sound. Now the ulama, looking at that hadith, because it's a sound hadith, they differed on what it meant and came to different conclusions. All of those scholars, and they are the minority, that felt that it meant that specifically the Prophet ﷺ was talking about his own parents, never ever spoke about that hadith in any other way except with the utmost adab. That was their opinion, and they put their opinion. But the majority of ulama rejected those minority opinions and came to very clear conclusions. Now, to go into why they did that would mean that I would have to go into a dars or a lesson about usul. Because there's people in this room, and you're not required to know this, but there's people who don't know the difference between ahad narrations and mutawatir narrations. They don't know the difference between multiply transmitted narration. They don't know the difference between solitary narration. They don't know the difference between dilala qat'iyya wa dilala dhanniyya. They don't know what those things mean. Why? Because they didn't study the science. And why should you be expected, if you go to a cardiologist, to know when he says, well, unfortunately, the mitral valve has some problems. There's stenosis there. He's not going to say that, because he's not going to assume you know what mitral valve means, and he's certainly not going to assume you know what stenosis means. He's going to say, well, he'll bring a little model, plastic model that some drug company gave him, and he'll show there's these two little valves. Most educated people know what a valve is. And the valve gets hardening. And unfortunately, because of that, it's having a difficult time opening and closing, so you're having fatigue. Well, there's certain things that we can do. And then he explained it. That's what a physician does. That's his job. To explain to ignorant people what's wrong with them. And he doesn't assume they should know. He knows that people are busy. If you're a butcher, you're a butcher. Be a good butcher. Nobody likes to eat meat with a bunch of sharp bones broken up, because if you get somebody who doesn't know how to cut the meat, he'll hack away at it and they'll break little bones, and then you bite into it and the bone goes into your gum. That's a lousy butcher. Nobody likes to get a carpenter and then you have your whole kitchen done with new cabinets and you open the door and it falls off. You want somebody who knows how to put hinges on. Nobody likes their bread to be underbaked. Everybody wants those who do things in the world to do them well. Because if they don't, you suffer and I suffer the consequences of their poor labor. It's true or not true? In the same way, you certainly don't want a scholar who doesn't spend all of his time making sure that he gets right what he's teaching the people. Because this relates to your relationship with God. It doesn't relate to whether your bread is undercooked or whether the cabinet is well made or not. It's not even as dangerous as whether or not the surgeon really is as good as he says he is. Because this is about your soul.